Rain hammered the windows of a lonely roadside diner as dusk settled over the highway. The neon sign flickered in the downpour, casting red and blue streaks across puddles on the cracked asphalt. Inside, the smell of coffee and frying oil hung heavy in the air. A jukebox in the corner murmured a slow, tinny tune, its colored lights blinking half-heartedly. At a back booth near the window, a young woman sat alone, a notebook open before her, hands trembling slightly as she sketched. Her left leg was braced in metal and leather, a pair of crutches leaning against the booth. She sipped tea and tried to lose herself in her drawings, unaware that within minutes her fragile peace would be shattered. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the courage to stand up for those who can't always stand for themselves, please like this video, comment with your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Hidden Hearts. Your support helps us tell more true and heart-touching stories like this one. Her name was Emily. At 22, she had already endured more pain and disappointment than many do in a lifetime. Born with a degenerative condition that slowly weakened her muscles, she had spent childhood shuttling between hospitals and therapy sessions, watching other children run and play while she sat on the sidelines. At school, she had been taunted, called names, her crutches kicked out from under her. Even as an adult, she carried those memories like scars under her skin. Yet she refused to let bitterness take root. She studied hard, worked part-time at a library, and saved each paycheck for college classes. The diner was her small sanctuary, a place to draw, drink tea, and imagine a future where she was known for her art rather than her disability. That evening, 3 young men burst into the diner, jackets dripping from the rain, voices loud. They were locals, familiar faces to the staff, young, restless, with too much time and too little empathy. At first, they simply ordered food, but when they noticed Emily's brace and the way she moved, their laughter shifted. They whispered, smirked, and made jokes she tried to block out. She bent closer to her notebook, drawing a bird with wings spread wide, as if sketching freedom might summon it. But their taunts grew bolder. One leaned over and snatched her sketchbook, flipping through it with mock admiration. Another nudged her crutch out of reach with his boot, grinning at his friends. Emily's heart pounded. She could feel the weight of other customers' stares, but no one stepped in. She reached for her book. The boy shoved it back roughly, the edge striking her arm. She winced, cheeks burning. Years of therapy and determination had taught her how to walk despite pain, how to ignore insults, but humiliation in public still cut deep. She gripped the edge of the table, willing herself not to cry. After a few minutes, the young men threw a few crumpled bills on the counter and left, laughter echoing as the door slammed shut behind them. The diner's murmur resumed, but the atmosphere felt heavier. Emily sat trembling, her sketchbook back on the table, a tear landing on the page. She wanted to leave, but her leg ached, and the rain outside was pouring harder. She sipped her tea, staring out the window, trying to steady her breathing. The manager muttered something about kids these days, but didn't meet her eyes. What Emily didn't know was that in a garage several miles away, a group of bikers were packing up after a long day. They were a tight-knit club, veterans and mechanics mostly, men and women who had found family on the road. They weren't saints, but they had a code. Protect the vulnerable, respect those who respect you. One of the diner's waitresses was the younger sister of a biker named Cole. She had quietly texted him while the incident unfolded, her hands shaking as she described what she'd just seen. "She's still here," she typed. "Girl looks terrified." An hour later, the diner's door swung open again. The rain had eased to a drizzle, but the sound of engines still echoed outside. 6 bikers entered, water dripping from their leather jackets, boots thudding on the linoleum. Their presence shifted the room's energy instantly. Conversations faltered. The manager straightened behind the counter. Emily looked up, startled. She recognized none of them. They spread out, some at the counter, some at booths, ordering coffee in low voices. But their eyes had already found her. And one of them, a tall man with a graying beard and a patched vest, gave her a small nod before turning to speak quietly with the waitress. Over the next 20 minutes, Emily watched in confusion as the bikers spoke with staff, glancing occasionally at her table. She didn't know that Cole had already gotten descriptions of the 3 young men, nor that one of the bikers had stepped back outside to make a call. When the door opened again, it wasn't another customer, but the 3 boys returning for their wallets, which they'd left behind. They swaggered in, still laughing, until they saw who was waiting. The diner fell silent. The bikers rose slowly from their seats, not saying a word. Cole walked up to the boys, blocking their path, and motioned for them to step outside. Emily couldn't hear what was said in the parking lot over the hum of the diner and the rain, but she saw the boys' expressions shift from cocky to pale. She saw one nod quickly, another mumble something. She saw Cole lean in, speaking calmly but firmly, and the boys shuffle back toward their truck, no longer laughing. They drove off without another word. When the bikers came back in, they didn't look angry. They looked calm, collected, like people who had simply enforced a boundary. Cole approached Emily's booth and set her sketchbook gently on the table, the cover now dry where rain had dotted it. He said nothing more than a quiet reassurance, then turned back to his group. For Emily, time seemed to stretch. She had gone from humiliation and fear to an unexpected wave of protection from strangers. She felt something shift inside her, not just relief, but a reminder that not everyone looks away. She thanked the waitress, gathered her things, and as she stood to leave, the bikers gave her a nod of respect. Outside, the rain had stopped and the sky was clearing to a pale gold. She walked slowly to the bus stop, sketchbook under her arm, feeling a little stronger than she had an hour ago. That night, back in her small apartment, she opened her notebook and began a new drawing. This one wasn't of a bird, but of a group of riders on a highway under a setting sun. She drew their jackets with patches she remembered, the way the rain had glistened on their boots, the quiet strength in their posture. For the first time in a long time, she felt hope bloom like a sunrise. She realized that kindness and courage often come from unexpected places, and that sometimes the people we fear by appearance are the very ones who will stand up for us. Weeks later, she returned to the diner. The waitress smiled, handing her a coffee on the house. On the wall near the counter hung a new photo, the biker club at a charity ride they organized for kids with disabilities. Emily learned they had started raising funds for adaptive sports equipment, inspired by what had happened that night. She left a donation from her small paycheck and walked out smiling, her crutches clicking softly on the tile. In her heart, she carried not just a story of being bullied, but a story of strangers who chose to be guardians rather than bystanders. If this story has touched your heart, if it reminded you of the quiet power of standing up for others and of kindness coming from unexpected places, please like this video, share it with friends and family, subscribe to Hidden Hearts, and leave a comment about how it made you feel. Your engagement helps us continue to tell stories that move and inspire people around the world. And before we close this chapter, we have a special request. Comment below and tell us about a moment when kindness, whether given or received, changed your life. We read every story, and yours might be the one that gives someone else the courage to keep going.